both of the Chiefs called me in their office. All right, last week. We want to meet with Anthony Johnson. I'm thinking I'm getting fired, y'all. All right, like I ain't y'all know what I've been through in the division, right? So they're just like, hey, you know, we clearly know who you are because you have the social media presence. Every community we go to, they bring your name up. What can we do to mimic this behavior division wide? And I'm like, what? Are you asking my opinion? And they're like, no, like clearly you're doing something, right? Like your social media platforms don't even compare in size to ours, right? Like you shadow them by hundreds of thousands of followers, right? So clearly we could learn something from you. Your opinion matters. And at the end of it, after, you know, them digging deep, like, hold on, who said you can't do what? All those days are gone. We're supporting you. Who said you couldn't go to Harvard? All those days are gone. Not only will you go again, but you'll go in uniform and you'll let me know when the invite comes in, right? At the very end, as I'm walking out, she goes, hey, keep doing what you're doing. We support you. And I walk out. I'm so energetic and I'm so like refreshed and renewed because I know that my leader, the big dog on the department has not only my back, but our backs. Leadership matters.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed Podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo.
What's up, brother? What's up?
Man, that was like an old intro.
You know, I gotta bring it back every now and then. That way,
behind it, you know,
people recognize. You know what I'm saying? They trying to kick your boy off TikTok, by the way. So I don't.
Did they really?
They trying, man. They are definitely trying. So you heard it here first. When my account just randomly disappears off TikTok, I told you so.
Well, hold on. I got to hear about this.
Yeah.
We are also joined by the Savage himself in his Crocs, like always. Billy, what's going on, Billy?
These Crocs are really comfortable, so I'm doing well.
Billy, do you wear socks with Crocs?
You got some mild. He got socks on right now.
You don't want to sweat in them. You got to wear socks with them.
He got some miles on those ones. I could tell.
Yeah. I guess if you didn't have socks, first off, socks with Crocs is I'm about that life, that rhyming life. But the second thing is, I guess if you didn't have socks with Crocs, you would be walking around squishy, like squeak, squeak, squeak.
Yeah, getting blisters all over your feet.
Oh, man. Well, you know, Billy's a marathon runner now, so
yes, he is.
Already got blisters.
Yes, he is. What's the update with that, Billy? What's the furthest you've run so far?
I ran a 10K last night, so that's 6.2 miles. Basically.
Bro, look at you, Slim.
Last night?
Yeah.
So you were just sitting around the house like, I was running.
Exactly. Well, I run at night because I have to wait till my kids go to sleep.
You run by yourself?
Yeah.
See, I'm afraid to run at night. You know why? Because I'm afraid I'm going to run into like a rodent, like a possum or a skunk.
I actually did run into a possum.
See?
Not last night, but a few nights ago.
And there you have it, guys. That's why I don't run at night. That's why I don't run, period.
You see, y'all got different problems. I'd have been like a gangbanger, a murderer. Like, y'all worried about a possum.
Oh, bro, I ain't messing with
these possums are dangerous, man.
Bro, I don't mess with. You say you ran into a skunk or a possum?
A possum, like a baby one.
Did it freak you out?
Well, it freaked me out because I almost stepped on it on the dark. I only saw it because a car drove by, and it was right in the middle of the sidewalk.
Do you have like reflective stuff you put on, Billy?
Yeah, well, I have like a little pouch I put my phone in and my shoes, so
kind of. Why you laugh like that? You probably just imagine Billy in like some bright orange vest or something like that with the little headlamp.
Oh yeah, I picture him in the whole get up. You said you plug your phone into your shoes.
No. The pouch my phone goes in is reflective around my waist.
I have one of those.
Yeah, and then my shoes are reflective as well.
Okay, that's okay.
AJ just wants to say
I believe Billy alone. I believe Billy alone this podcast. So I get the next podcast.
Bro, well, anyways, hey, shout out to our listener who listened to the last podcast and really loved our astronomy and geography.
Yeah, we got a review on our geography.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. They said they loved us because we're experts in that field. Yeah. So
I'm the astronomy guy. Ryan is the geography guy.
Absolutely. You know, I'll tell you, you know, that Michigan Lake is not an ocean.
Yeah.
And is that what it's called, Michigan Lake? I don't know.
So thank you from the review from JJJJ Shajiggles. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it looks like they just typed a random name in.
Shajiggles. Oh, man.
Shout out to Shajiggles.
I got a fair foul for you guys. I want to know what you guys are going to do. So if you guys were in attendance, so I actually just got back from Virginia this week, and shout out to you guys if you guys were at the conference that I spoke at. It was a great conference, I had a great time, and shout out to all the people that were following me before I went to the conference, because that was pretty cool, man. I got there and there were quite a handful of people that said they already followed us and followed the podcast and stuff. So shout out to you guys. But on my way to Virginia, I get on the plane. And as I get on the plane, I'm just chilling, right? I'm just minding my own freaking business. And I don't know about you guys. When you guys fly, do you guys put your seat back before you guys take off?
Oh yeah, I'm asleep. I'm knocked out.
Me
before
too.
the plane
I
takes
do.
off,
They say you can't put it back until you take off, but as soon as that little flight attendant walks by, I put my seat back.
Seat back, headphones in.
Like, yep, exactly. Yep. Music on, bro.
I'm like super considerate. I wouldn't do that.
Well, okay.
Yeah, all right.
I've already experimented. I already know that you can turn your music on. I used to think when I was younger that you can't put your music on before you get to a certain altitude because it could bring the plane down. I've already tested the limits. I played Jeopardy with my life, and we survived. So
and everybody
all the
else
time
is
I
in
put
the
my
plane.
music on. Yeah, exactly. So we good. So anyways, I sit down in my seat, and just like AJ said, I put my seat back, put my music on. I felt this like thump on the back of my seat. So I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, who the heck is kicking my seat? So I take my headphones off, and I hear this older lady. She's like, sir, you can't put your seat back. I'm like, excuse me, who made you the seat police?
First off, Air Marshal Granny.
Yes. So that's what I'm thinking. So she's like, you're not supposed to have your seat back because we haven't taken off yet. And two, I can't have you put your seat back. I'm claustrophobic. So I'm like, whoa. So my immediate response to her was like, ma'am, you do know this is a 4.5 hour flight, right? And she was like, yeah, but I'm claustrophobic. So I was pissed. So I almost put my white belt one stripe in action, bro, in jiu-jitsu, bro. Almost
this old lady.
I was about to go viral.
We'll break down that video,
bro. I was definitely about to go viral. I'd have been breaking down my own. I'd have been doing a Tillman take on my own video, because this lady was about to get an arm bar. So, anyways, she's like, starts to get mad. Her husband's next to her. That you could her husband had the look on his face, like, here we go again, Mary, like she's probably that lady that always be starting stuff. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I'm like, nah, ma'am, I'm not about to just sit. And mind you, these seats don't go back that far anyways.
Mm-hmm. Inch and a half, maybe.
Exactly. She made it seem like I was laying in her lap, bro. Like,
you
anyways.
fly what, Spirit?
I've seen some crazy videos from Spirit come out lately.
No, I was not on Spirit. Thank you. Oh man, you tried to doubt. I mean, actually, I was on Spirit. I live in the one bedroom, one bathroom apartment.
No offense to anybody that flies Spirit. No, I thought Ryan flew Spirit on this flight.
You just lost all of our followers, bro. Because now you're making fun of folks. Anyways, so I put my headphones on, and I was courteous. I was like, you know what? I'll keep my seat upright until we take off. I didn't even have to do that because she wanted to be the air marshal. But anyway, as soon as we got up in the air, bro, I put my seat back, and bro, I started feeling all this like she was punching the seat.
Dang, hey, she rowdy.
Bro, she was rowdy, bro. I didn't even look back, bro. I didn't even entertain her, bro. I just kept, listening to my worship music. And mind you, I was already kind of pissed off too because I was doing a spiritual fast. So I'm hungry to the mug, bro. I walked through the airport. I see people eating Chick-fil-A, this and that. I'm like, man, like I'm hungry, bro. So I was already mad as it was. But anyways, I just put my seat back and just sailed off into the wind, bro. But I didn't pay this lady no mind. So fair, was I wrong for putting my seat back? Or should she have bought another ticket for the seat in front of her if you claustrophobic? In my mind, the dude next to me was like, if she claustrophobic, she should have bought a first class ticket so she don't have to worry about somebody's seat in the back.
Or an aisle seat. Like I feel like an aisle seat would have like alleviated like that problem as well.
Yeah. You can select your seats.
Yeah.
If you claustrophobic, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I was hot, bro.
So I'm gonna just say this, man. Like I'm the worst possible version of myself at the airport. The absolute worst version of me that you'll meet will be me at the moment I step foot out of my car into the airport. I'm a negative 10. Like I am the worst part. Like I hate it. There's no customer service. Everybody's rude. No one knows where they're going. Like I absolutely hate. I love traveling. I hate the airport. So yeah, me and Granny would have had some worries, man. I'm just past experiences, man. Like I have gotten into it with people at the airport. Like
Bro, I was ready to go off on this old lady, bro.
Yeah.
Like, literally, before I didn't understand how these videos went viral. Now I understand how videos go viral on the airplane, bro. Because that is like one of the most hostile places, bro. You already up on top of each other. You know, it's, people call it the fart tube, bro.
And
like,
people don't got no manners. Like, people take their shoes off, their feet be beside you. Like, all right, look.
Yeah, bro.
No, you see the weirdest people.
Yeah, exactly.
People with their Crocs be squeaking down the aisle. Squeak, 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 squeak.
They
ain't got no socks with Crocs. So
Billy passes you with his Crocs on.
You might like the airport experience if you wore sweatpants and Crocs. I'm just telling you that right now.
I have a routine.
Sweatpants.
Yeah, I wear sweatpants, a hoodie, and some like slip-on Nikes. That way I can take my
Same
hoodie
here.
off, ball it up. That's my pillow while I'm asleep. I got
Same
a whole routine, bro.
Me too.
I got flying
Me too.
down to I got
Me
that
too.
down. Actually, I almost went viral flying back from the last conference we did because they kept
really?
delaying the flight and no one was at the customer service line. There's probably like 30 people in line and there's literally no one. So what I do, I'll put my phone out. I'll turn to this guy. I'll put my phone. I'll start recording and I'm like dictating what's going on. I'm like, there's 30 people in front of me.
Oh, so you one of those.
I'm like, ain't nobody at the Delta desk right now. But it caught somebody's attention. Somebody was like, ooh, somebody got a phone. A representative came over and she was like, well, we'll get somebody over here shortly. And I'm like, yo, like, first off, these flights are too much money to be dealing with this. So I'm telling you, I'm the worst version of me at the airport. So,
well, moving on. I did have my phone out right now for the person that left the comment about me having my phone out. Let me clear something
here
up
we
with
go.
y'all.
We've had multiple people on YouTube.
Yeah, it was
mention
just
it.
one person,
let me clear
Ryan.
something out to you. You guys some of you guys gonna be like, become my wife's greatest fans because she always like, why you got your phone out?
Before you start, I just want to let our listeners know, if you don't watch the YouTube channel, during our very important guests who are sharing their souls with us, Ryan's on his phone.
Ryan be like, and deep in his phone too. Like, he don't be like glancing. He got two hands on the phone. Like,
no, let me clear something up with y'all. The reason I have my phone out is because either A, I'm taking notes about what AJ or our guest said so I don't forget it. Because if you know me, people that know me know I have the worst memory, bro. Like, I have the worst memory. Second of all, the other reason I'm on my phone usually is because I'm usually looking something up because I want to either fact check something or I want to I'll forget a person's name or whatever, just like I just got on my phone because there's somebody I'm going to bring up right now that I want to talk about. So for those of y'all that just think I'm over here playing Candy Crush, which at times in this podcast, very early on when we first started, I was like, dang. Billy looked at me like, what?
You have a Candy Crush problem. Yeah.
No,
both of y'all
anyways,
do.
so... No, yeah, Billy does play the games though. But anyways, I'm not on my phone playing games. I'm actually using that to take notes or look something up. So for our listeners that wanted to know that. But anyways, I digress. AJ brought up something before we got on today. It was about what we were going to talk about, and he actually brought up leadership. And so it's kind of funny when you brought that up. I was thinking about a book that I started reading that my wife had got for me, and I just cracked it open. She got it for me like months ago, and I hadn't had the opportunity to crack it open. But it's about Sheriff David Clark. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with who Sheriff David Clark is. Mm-hmm. He is from Wisconsin, I believe it is. Is it Wisconsin?
I don't know. I'm looking him up right now.
Yeah, I think it's Wisconsin. I may be wrong. But anyways.
Yeah, Milwaukee. Yeah, Wisconsin.
Yeah, he is a phenomenal sheriff. So back in the day when a lot of this things start going viral, he would come out with videos that would be pretty like strict, like really, really hard. Like he didn't have any, there was no fluff. And one of the things that I got from, I haven't finished the book yet. I'm about, I think, almost 100 pages into it. The guy is a phenomenal, like he comes from a good household, but his dad was a Green Beret, if I'm not mistaken. Dad was very tough, and his dad was very strict on how he was growing up. But, at an early age, David Clark was put in situations where, he tried to go with what pop culture was. There's a part in his book where he talks about, he basically tried to yell some obscenities towards some police officers, and his dad basically got in his butt about it. Like, what are you doing? That's not who we are. That's not how we are. And so anyways, you can see this pattern in his life that's led to him being a sheriff to where, he doesn't compromise. And I guess that's the right word. As a leader, he doesn't compromise, and he does what's right for the right reasons. So much so that there were people that were saying that you need to do this in order to run, or you need to run by these values. And he's said, no, I'm not doing that. And so he stand firm. And so the reason I bring that up is because you said, let's talk about leadership. Well, I was thinking like, man, this guy is a phenomenal leader. He is somebody that is a cop's cop, but at the same time, he recognizes the needs of the community. And so he's not going to, compromise for the sake of public opinion. He's going to do the right things for the right reasons. And so one of the names that he also mentioned in the book, or he quoted, was Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass, I obviously, we know about Frederick Douglass because he's in the history books and he's done some pivotal things in our country. But, I didn't really know Frederick Douglass that well. So I was like, it prompted me to go out and buy a book about Frederick Douglass, because what started happening is I started to think to myself, I'm like, man, there's so many issues going on in our society right now where people become warriors and social advocates for this and for that. But I'm like, let me go and listen and hear from the people that actually experienced like a level of, mistreatment and judgment and all types of things that we'll never understand. I want to see what these people were going through, so that way maybe I can have a different lens. So I started reading up on Frederick Douglass, and man, like I've been blown away. I bought a documentary, or not a documentary, a autobiography that Frederick Douglass wrote, and I'm only like 3 chapters in, and I'm like, I recommend, if you have never heard any stories about slaves, I recommend you listen or watch these documentaries, because it is hard to stomach what they witnessed for, like, getting beat for nothing. It was, and hearing Freddie Douglass say, like, I hid in a closet as I watched my aunt being beat for hours until blood was just running from her back. Like, and he was like, I'm crying, wondering if I'm going to be next. And then Frederick Douglass talks about how his master's wife is the one that started to teach him to read. And she went out on a limb to do that, because it was not commonplace for them to teach slaves how to read, because if slaves learned how to read, then they can start learning, to be basically adequate in their education and, realize like they're slaves. The other thing that I realized was that a lot of these slaves didn't even know their age, their how old they were. Frederick Douglass, at the time he died, could not tell you exactly how old he was, because it was common practice for slaves to not be told their age, because that was a way of preventing them from knowing what they needed to know in order to make them a human being. And so, anyways, I'm a transition here, and I'll give it over to AJ. But again, I'm pulling my phone out because I want to read something to y'all, so y'all don't think I'm playing Candy Crush. I made a post the other day about Frederick Douglass because I thought it was so cool. He said, "Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons or property will be safe." And that's kind of, he said that, I don't know how long ago, and that's kind of like a telling sign of where we're at today. So, AJ, I see you shaking your head a lot, and we'll transition to how this evolves into you being a better leader, but I want to see what your thoughts are on my initial statements about Frederick Douglass and Sheriff David Clark.
I'm the same way, man. I don't know, and I'm sure some people are gonna be like, oh, here you go. I don't know that much about Frederick Douglass, but I applaud you for hearing that Frederick Douglass inspired the sheriff, and then digging deeper to find out who inspired the person that inspires you. Because and I've never done that, right? Like, I have a list of people who inspire me, and I could tell you probably everything about that person, but I don't know who inspired those people. And that's like a whole new level of depth. So first of all, I applaud you for that. But the second thing is, I've always thought that too. And like, we've talked about it on the podcast, like real briefly, about like when real like slavery was going on, right? And the mindset that you had to have in order to prevail and push through the amount of like adversity and like sheer evil in the world in comparison to today. And it's like, you would think that talking to a lot of these like advocates, and I'll put that in air quotes, and activists in air quotes again, that they have it the absolute worst that we've ever had it. And I'm not saying that we don't need activists and advocates and all of that, but it's like, I forget where I heard this, but it's like, man, thank God we didn't think like this or act like this when slavery was real. or we never would overcome it, right? Like we would never be able to overcome it in today's world, just because like we have like such a victim mentality, and like we have our hand out, like, well, you owe us, instead of like working hard for it. And I've talked about it before, right? Like I've found myself in situation after situation after situation where I've had to work twice as hard to get half the recognition. But that's okay for me, because once I get it, once I obtain whatever I was chasing, I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to appreciate it, to where if I got my hand out and somebody just puts it in my hand, I'm not really going to care that much about it. I didn't earn it. So, I applaud you for taking that step, Ryan.
Well, Bishop Omar said it best, and I'm so sad that we never actually got a chance to have Bishop on the podcast before he passed away. But he said it best. He said, inspire people. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I live by. But the reason I did that was because I want to see where, like, if we're talking about leadership, how do you become a good leader? Well, first thing you have to, there's an old saying that says, some things are caught, not taught. Mm. And what that means is that I can go out there and give you guys a leadership 101 class. And in that class, you guys may take a couple nuggets, but is it really going to transition and make you a better leader? Mm-hmm. What's really going to make you a better leader is the things that you see me doing by example over and over and over again. So in my household with my children, I'm always trying to teach them lessons, but the best lessons that are taught are the ones that they caught, that are caught, the ones that they're seeing daddy do day in, day out. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm reading books or I'm looking at, David Clark, I'm like, well, how is this dude such a strong individual that doesn't care what people say? So when he's bringing up people that he's reading, or he's quoting people that I know of, that I know were really good or really iconic people, but I don't really know them. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, maybe I should go to the source. And so I had an interesting conversation with my pastor yesterday, and I was like, we're actually in a very unique time for leaders, and this is what I meant. And I was like, myself included. I said the leaders today, the thing that bothers, there was a very well-known social influencer out there who I actually like, and a lot of what he says is right in line with my values, no doubt about it. But he said something about a person, I'll just say Simone Biles. He said something about Simone Biles, which we can talk about in a minute. That was, I think, a little bit too much. Like, he basically tried to say like she was a disgrace to the country, and she made us look weak to other countries. And don't get me wrong, I like this person who was talking, but one of the things that it made me realize is I was like, and myself included, I was like, our generation has been giving a certain amount of respect and influence because of social media, which, if you think about the people that went before us, our parents' generation and their generation, they had to go out there and earn this reputation and influence with blood, sweat, and tears, traveling place after place after place in order for people to know who they are. Think about it. Like, they didn't have social media. Like I can make a good video that goes viral now, and all of a sudden everybody knows Ryan Tillman. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure everybody didn't know Martin Luther King by him making a viral post. People knew Martin Luther King because he was coming to your neighborhood, he was coming to your city. Yep. And so the reason I brought that up is because I was like, sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves as these influencers, and we'll say something that is not accurate, and we have gotten to this place where we almost feel a sense of, yeah, man, I got this down, like I'm an expert, without actually being tried and tested. And so we almost feel like we have a what's the word for it? We have the ability, the credibility to make statements that are kind of reckless without actually having that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see you shaking your head, but we haven't necessarily been tried and tested. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been through adversity. There's been things I've been tested in, but have I been tried and tested like your Frederick Douglass, your David Clark? No, I haven't. But at the same time, we've gotten to a pinnacle a lot faster than they have because they didn't have the same tools that we have. Does that make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. It's like almost like a status. Like it's much easier for us to reach that status of like being known and to have listeners from all over the world without actually putting in the work. Really, I mean, all we gotta do is stand in front of a camera or stand in front of our phone. But what I was gonna say is, speaking of, Your boy Sean King got put on blast last week. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I did
No,
not.
what happened?
Yeah, so he bought like a $800,000 or $900,000 house in or somewhere New Jersey, I want to say, like lakefront property, and they eating him up online. Like New York Times put something out there, Daily Mail put something out, like huge articles about like how he's been like kicked out of like multiple like social justice groups because his like lack of accountability, and like they're wondering like where he gets the money from. So I just thought
that's what happens, and that's a great point.
Isn't he a for-profit business though? Like he sells books, shirts. Like
He
what's
does.
I don't see the issue.
Yeah, he does.
Well, here's the issue for me is that there's nothing wrong with I'm a for-profit business. I get paid to go speak and stuff.
I mean, I don't like him, but I don't care if he buys a house.
But
That's kinda
here's the thing though, is like when your stance is on helping people and doing this and doing that, and all you do is make a living on picking people apart for this name in the name of people that have lost their lives or doing this or doing that, and those people, those victims, have never seen anything come from like fruitful come from you other than just your words.
Yeah,
that's when it becomes an issue.
So
like I'm not quiet about it. Like I am a for-profit, you know what I mean, for when I go out and speak, but one, I'm open about it, but two, I look at it as like I'm being blessed to be a blessing others. There's people I'm donating to here, I'm donating to there, or whenever I can. And I don't want y'all to think like I'm not making millions of dollars. So that ain't the case at all. But at the same time, I think we have a platform where we're not trying to get rich off of somebody else's demise.
Yeah, this is apples and oranges in comparison. The thing about like Sean King is, so like Tamir Rice, his mother spoke and said, as soon as my son was killed, Sean King got on all these social media platforms and began to raise money and, do all sorts of stuff similar to that, like host these events where people were like donating to the events. And she never seen a dime of it. So like, she's upset. She's like, one, like you took me grieving away from like this process. Like I didn't even have the chance to grieve because you were so busy throwing my son's picture up on social media and saying we need to stand for this and we're going to fight for it. And I never seen a penny of it. And not only did I never see a penny of it, but I also never seen any action from it either, aside from you hosting these local events and putting stuff online saying this is where you could donate. And he's done that time and time again. So now all these families are upset. Like, you say you care about me losing my son, or you say you care about, police officers wrongfully killing African Americans, but what are you doing aside from patting your pocket? And that's the whole like controversy behind it. And they talk about it in detail on the article. I just thought that since we were talking about that that would be
well, yeah, it just goes back to show like, people have the people that have influence, you know what I mean? We mature enough to have this influence? And we've had this discussion before. So going back to leadership, what truly makes a good leader? Man. And I think, personally, what makes a good leader is you have to, one, be able to lead from the front. You got to be able to show and lead by example. Two, you have to have a mindset that's different from everybody else. Like you can't do the status quo, and so that kind of brings me to Simone Biles. My opinion, Kimberly brought this up to me when we were talking. She was like, what's your opinion on Simone Biles? And my opinion about Simone Biles quitting was like, look, I'll never get on somebody for quitting. We're all individuals. If you want to quit, you can quit. Anybody can quit. Like, that's your prerogative. And especially I started watching this documentary on Tiger Woods, and like when you see like how much pressure a lot of these people have that are in these spots, iconic spots, like there's a lot of pressure that goes into living up to a certain reputation and a name that people created for you. So
24/7.
24/7. If you quit, that's on you. I'm not going to get on you because you quit, not at all. But I won't consider you to be one of the greatest. And that's just what it comes down. And the reason I say that is because to be one of the greatest, that means you have to have been tried and tested. And we saw Jordan play through the tragedy of the loss of his dad. We saw Kobe Bryant go through a very, very tough situation with his wife and kids. Tiger Woods went through the same thing, and they still showed up. They played, and they had success. even Muhammad Ali got knocked out multiple times and still came back and defended his heavyweight championship and won. So you have all these people that did things in adversity. They didn't quit. That's why they're the GOAT. But some people are making her out to be a hero because she quit. And I don't necessarily agree with that.
You know, this is my view on it, man. It's like, if she doesn't feel, you know, mentally stable, or even if she just doesn't want to be there, like, that's on her. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, that's on her. And I wouldn't say that like takes her out of the running to be a great, because, like, you know, even
She'll
like
still be a great, but she won't be the GOAT.
I mean, she could be. She could come back like MJ, right? MJ quit to play baseball, and he came back dogging it, right?
But there's a difference between MJ quitting and her quitting, because she quit in the middle of a team thing. And again, I'm not on her. If that's her prerogative, that's her prerogative. MJ quit at the end of a season and was like, "Hey, I'm done with basketball."
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but I don't know. I think that, like, this conversation is part of the pressure that goes into being, you know, what we were talking about, like a Tiger Woods or like a Simone Biles even, right? Like, she, in her head, she's probably like, dang, I can't take like a mental health. We do it, right? Like, we've taken breaks from social media.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like, we've been like, I gotta get off the social media. It's crazy. And we ain't even nowhere near the level of somebody like that, to where she's like, look, I came here, and she's done it time and time and time and again. Like, her name rings bells for a reason, right? Like, she's who she is for a reason. Like, she's been to the Olympics. She's done it. So, you know, this time she's just like, look.
I think if it was an individual thing, I think it wouldn't be as big a deal as a team thing. And now, since we're talking about leadership, I think that's why it's like, as a leader, this is where you're everybody's looking to you as a leader. You got to pull through, and sometimes it's gonna suck. But if other people depend on me, I can't give up on them.
No, I get it. So then, let me ask you this, like, just to tie it into law enforcement. Say your sergeant was going through something, all right? Like, your supervisor of your precinct, whatever that, corporal, sergeant, whatever, was going through something. They're like, man, I'm going through a divorce, right? Say they're, you know, God forbid, they're going through a divorce, and things are just really hard. Would you rather that sergeant go, hey, Ryan, I need you to steer the ship for a minute. I'm going to take a break, get myself together, and then come back? Or would you rather have him try to push through it, and then something happens and it gets worse?
No, absolutely. I would rather have him step aside.
Yeah.
But here's the difference, though. He's stepping aside when the rubber's not, when all the crap ain't hitting the fan.
Say it is, though. Say it's in the middle of the George Floyd riots. Like, right?
That's
3 days
fine.
in.
No, that's fine. But I'm talking about, there's a difference between that guy and the sergeant that's in a gun battle. You're in a gun battle, and he's like, hey, I give up, man. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm packing my stuff up and driving away from here while we out here shoot. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of how I relate. Like, Simone, they're in competition. It ain't pre-trial. No, I mean, it ain't the pre-qualifiers no more. You're in the middle of competition, and now you just kind of walk. But either way, there's something that you kind of brought up that I'm in alliance with. I think this is the problem, and the reason we got here in the first place was because this is what's been trending lately on social media, and this is our problem. I'm like, we have people saying that, you know, she's a disgrace to the country and this, and I'm like, really? Because I can tell you a whole bunch of other politicians that are making our country look a lot more weak. I can tell you a lot more. I can tell you a lot more pastors that are sleeping on their wives or sleeping around and leading their flock astray. I can tell you about teachers that are molesting kids. There are so much bigger issues than Simone stepping away from a team event at the Olympics.
Right. And
so although I'm still like, you know, like, I don't know if I would have stepped away. She had to do what she had to do. And that's why I said I won't fault her for stepping away. You know what I mean? I just don't know if I'll classify her as being the GOAT. But at the end of the day, should we really be putting that much focus and energy on a gymnastic Olympic sport when there's a whole bunch of other things going on in our country right now that should take precedent? And I think that's kind of where the leaders, getting back to leadership, is what can we do locally on a national level to be better leaders for our communities. And so I'm going to bring up, what's her name, one last time. I'm not going to, again, I'll pull my phone out because I'm looking up names, y'all. I want y'all to crucify me.
I'm going to start calling Ryan, disclaimer Ryan.
The disclaimer. The next thing they're going to say, well, you should be more prepared then. You should have all this stuff ready to go. What's her name? Oh, I don't think she wants me to use her name anyways. Actually, I have it here, but I don't think she wants me to use her name. So I gave you guys the feedback or that comment on the last episode about the lady that's out there doing the stuff in her communities. So she sent me a long email back. I don't know if you guys got it. It was a phenomenal email. But that's what leadership looks like. Leadership is saying, you know what, instead of just saying stuff, I'm gonna go put myself in the game. So at your departments, wherever you're at, or if you're trying to get hired, what are you doing to put yourself or position yourself in a position to where you can go and be the leader you need to be? You know, you don't need a title to be a leader. Like I've known many leaders that didn't have a title. You know, and I've known many leaders that had a title that weren't really leaders. They were just leaders by title, but not by action. And so do you want to be a leader that is a leader by action and not just title, or do you want to be a leader by title and not action? And that's kind of what my question is to you guys. I know what I want to be. I want to be the person that has action. I put the action behind my words. And I think I know what AJ is and Billy.
Absolutely. So, just real quick backstory before I dive into this short story. Back when the whole George Floyd incident was going on, the city that I work for began to divide. Right, like we had like city council and the mayor, bad mouthing the police, and the police were bad mouthing city council and the mayors. There was like a lot of division and divisiveness going on throughout the city. And then the mayor dropped a bombshell and said, you know what, we're going to hire a chief from the outside, which has never happened throughout our division's history. Like it's always been a position you've moved up throughout the ranks. That way you just know, right? Like you've earned your stripes, you know the training, you know the precincts, you know the officers, you know the environment, the clientele, whatever. So a lot of officers were upset and like unsure about it. And, I'd be a lie if I said I wasn't unsure about it as well. So they do this national search. And, people are applying and we're doing our research on like these chiefs or like assistant chiefs or commanders or civilians that are applying. And it comes down to like 3. And I would say a majority of police officers had one that they really liked. And they were like, oh, we really like this guy. We hope that he gets it. He didn't end up getting it. They ended up hiring a female from Detroit. And then the mayor, a little bit prior to this, said, when we hire a chief from the outside, that chief is allowed to bring somebody in and that person's rank will be directly underneath them. So it's basically like bringing in 2 chiefs, right? So we're like, what? So this female from Detroit brings in another female from Detroit, and they're both female blacks. Not that should matter, but I'll show you where I'm going with this. So man, it made waves, and we're like, people are just unsure, like what's going on? Like they're coming from Detroit, like what's the crime rate in comparison to Detroit to where we work? And they get here, and they kind of fly under the radar for a little bit, and I think they've only been in their position now for maybe 4 weeks. But we start hearing some good things, right? Like, oh, they're going to change the tattoo policy where you can have visible tattoos, because right now we have to wear a sleeve to cover it up. They're going to change our beard policy to where you can have like facial hair as long as it ain't nothing crazy. They're getting rid of our uniforms. Our uniforms are like white shirts we like milkmen, Praise white leather God. Hats. They're giving us like tack vests on the outside where you can like put stuff on it. So we're like, okay, maybe this ain't so bad, right? So leadership matters, okay? So then we start hearing some other stuff like, well, they're going from precinct to precinct, and they're starting to hear officers complain about our 8-hour shifts. Maybe they want to do a poll, or they end up doing a poll to see if a majority of officers would prefer to work 10s or 12s. Leadership matters, right? Boost the morale up a little bit. There was a use of force that was caught on video from one of our officers in a gas station, and the brand new chief had a press conference with the mayor and city council behind her and flat out said, I support my officers. I want to put that out here right now. I support my officers. As long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, I'll have your back. Leadership matters, right? Both of the chiefs called me in their office. All right, last week. We want to meet with Anthony Johnson. I'm thinking I'm getting fired, y'all. All right, like I ain't y'all know what I've been through in the division, right?
When this Chick-fil-A video that we saw.
Exactly. So they're just like, hey, we clearly know who you are because you have the social media presence. Every community we go to, they bring your name up. What can we do to mimic this behavior division wide? And I'm like, what? Are you asking my opinion? And they're like, no, like clearly you're doing something, right? Like your social media platforms don't even compare in size to ours, right? Like you shadow them by hundreds of thousands of followers, right? So clearly we could learn something from you. Your opinion matters. And this conversation went on for a while. And at the end of it, after, them digging deep, like, hold on, who said you can't do what? All those days are gone. We're supporting you. Who said you couldn't go to Harvard? All those days are gone. Not only will you go again, but you'll go in uniform, and you'll let me know when the invite comes in, right? At the very end, as I'm walking out, she goes, hey, keep doing what you're doing. We support you. And I walk out, and when I tell you to this day, like even me sharing this story, you might be able to hear it in my voice. Like I'm so energetic and I'm so like refreshed and renewed because I know that my leader, the big dog on the department has not only my back, but our backs. Leadership matters. And what Ryan said is you don't have to be in a leadership, and I'll put that in air quotes, role to be a leader, because part of that discussion is, AJ, we've talked to a good amount of people on the precinct, or like that know the officers on the precinct, and your whole precinct is involved in community relations, and they get the numbers as far as guns, drugs, kicking in doors, felons, all of that, right? What's the dynamic there? And I'm like, I don't know. All I know is that when I first got up there, I did what I do, right? Like I found a cruiser district. I poured into that cruiser district. I led with compassion and empathy. I wasn't afraid to kick in doors, arrest criminals, but I also knew that there was a flip side to policing. And then I slowly started to see other officers follow suit, not saying that they didn't do that before, but I saw them following suit, maybe thinking, okay, well, AJ's doing it and he ain't catching no flack. I'm going to do it. And now our whole and I'm not taking credit for this by any means, but like now our whole precinct, overwhelmingly a majority of our precinct is that way. They all have families that they pour into. Leadership matters. You don't even have to be a senior officer on your precinct or the area that you work. If you start doing something and people see like, oh, hold on, what he or she is doing is working. Not only is it working, but it's making our job easier. It's making us look better. People are going to follow suit, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there. Like everyone who has listened to this podcast for a while knows the fire that we had to walk through, the mud that's been thrown on our name, the amount of times that we just been drugged through the dirt and stomped on and been threatened to fire and have people put knives in our back. Like you all know that. You have to be willing to go through some of that as a leader though. So when you pose that question, what are the traits of a good leader? It's that it's being willing to put yourself on the line for the betterment of everyone else.
Amen.
And that's how you have to look at it. So for you listening to this podcast, wherever you're at, I don't care if you're in the academy right now or not even old enough to be a law enforcement officer. You have to start thinking, how am I going to be a leader going into this profession? How am I going to be a leader every single day? How am I going to inspire others to create that change that we so badly need in our profession?
Man, there goes the title for today is Leadership Matters. And it's so true, man. Like, and that's why, like I tell you guys, the reason I went and got that book about Frederick Douglass is because when I go through those fires, when I go through those tribulations, the reason I'm reading the David Clark book is I want to know what others did when they went through the storm. So that way I can know how to get out of the storm. So, man, this was a good episode, guys. I know it was kind of short, but I think it was definitely a good topic to talk about. I think what we're going to start doing is we're going to start getting back to breakdowns. I haven't even told the fellas this. I haven't even told AJ and Billy this. But as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking what we're going to start doing is we're going to start doing a segment called The Breakdown, probably, where we break down a critical incident that's been going viral, and me and AJ just do a segment where we kind of just break that down towards the end of the podcast, kind of give you guys a little bit more context and outlook at certain trending events, so that way we can be a part of the solution as opposed to the problem, and allow you guys to kind of go out there and share the right facts as opposed to the wrong facts. So we might start transitioning doing that. Continue to like us, give us 5-star rating, 5-star review, so we can continue to bump up those charts. And if you guys want me, AJ, or even Billy out to your organization to go ahead and speak to y'all, please reach out to us, send us the emails. Those emails don't fall on deaf ears. We will get back to you. That's how I ended up in Virginia. I'll be going to, I believe it's Colorado next month. So, or actually no, Washington. I'll be in Washington next month. So keep those things coming in. And last thing, have we ever done a cookies one has to go?
I don't think so.
Like, I don't know, maybe.
Because I got one.
We did like Girl Scout cookies.
So I got a regular one. I've been having this debate with some of my partners.
Let's go.
I'm gonna add 2 other ones on there. The debate has been peanut butter, oatmeal raisin, but I don't want y'all to answer that one yet. So I'm at peanut butter, oatmeal raisin, chocolate chip or sugar cookies? One has to go.
Sugar cookies.
You tripping. I think we have done this before, but
I think peanut butter's got to go.
No,
Billy.
what?
Peanut butter, absolutely, bro. Peanut butter is only used for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There's no other uses for peanut butter.
And Reese's, and I love peanut butter, but not peanut butter cookies.
Callie,
Nah, bro,
Callie,
they-
weirdos.
I can't believe you said sugar cookies.
Weird.
And why do they put macadamia nuts in white chocolate chip cookies? That ruins them. I just want some regular white chocolate chip cookies.
Billy just went somewhere else with it. Why do they put macadamia nuts in?
Why they got white chocolate chips and not black chocolate chips?
They got both.
Oh man. So hey guys, this was a good episode. I appreciate you guys for following us. Continue to just again like us and subscribe to us. It truly means the world to us. And we're gonna have some more guests on coming up soon. So I already got some guests in the pipeline, some really good guests. So shout out to you guys if you guys are following us. Shout out to you guys for giving us the reviews. But other than that, we hope you guys enjoy your week. Go out there, conquer the week, and remember, leadership matters. So thanks again. God bless, and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.